panjang ini kalau teman ini bicara. Soal panjang sekali dan dia punya agenda juga cukup padat. Jadi saya rasa mungkin dan cukup waktu untuk dia membawa materi.
1 jam.
Nah,
atau penjelasan awalnya ini.
Ya.
Yang dia jelaskan lebih baik selesaikan dulu.
Oh iya. Bisa mungkin barangkali ya 5 menit lagi ya.
Why you said Indonesian young people less confidence in politics? Do you mean less participation in politics?
Students will participate if they believe and there is hope and there is action. Yes? Can you translate?
Mereka akan bergabung dan mereka akan di politik itu kalau mereka percaya dan mereka yakin ada harapan di situ.
Butuhkan trust ya.
Di politik itu.
Bisa mempengaruhi
kebijakan.
I've been you translated okay? Please, any questions? Any question?
I think she is a politician.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Leah. Okay, I just want to ask about, you said before about, if we talk about environmental issues, we talk about, we must understand about political system. So as a sociology graduate in the future, what we must do, more contribute about political system or more contribute about basic education for the society.
So it's unfortunate that in policy change, one thing that's really important is knowledge, education. Now just indicate here. When I ask people this word here, what is social? What is social? You need to understand what social is. What is aspect or what is impact? You need to understand what is impact. And there's a whole discussion that you can have in a classroom. Is what is impact? Very interesting. And then we have, what does global mean? It means all of us. We're at a time in sociology, anthropology, many academics and researchers are saying that we need to work globally together. So when we have the Asian network of sociology and you're all connecting together, you're getting knowledge, you're getting information, and then you can make choices. And then you need to understand what is the environment. And you need to have a discussion, what is the environment? The environment exists on many levels. It can exist on a physical level, an environmental level, an emotional level. What's your emotional environment? Yeah? It's the state of understanding the environment. So this university, if it's a good university, it encourages student participation. This is really healthy. So it's the environment that is created. So for me, and it's so important for Indonesia for me, is that Indonesia needs to be a part of global information. And when I think about all the information in sociology today, all around the world, there is one common thread that links everyone. And that probably is the spoken word, and the spoken word in this case is English.
Yeah.
And I have met many Indonesians that have had the opportunity to speak English, to students abroad, fellowships, scholarships abroad, and they've come back and I've met them. I've met them in Australia, I've met them in Europe, in the Middle East, and their knowledge and their understanding is really important for Indonesia because they love Indonesia and they want to protect it. So it's always information, education, and that creates knowledge, and the outcome is choice. The whole issue for me, I'll leave it there, sorry. I don't know if you can translate a little. So it's, in many ways, it's really important to understand what social is. Yeah?
Yeah.
What aspects of impact means. What is global? It's all of us. Yeah? And the environment exists on many levels.
Sorry.
You understand?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's the understanding of that all of us are a part of the problem, but all of us are a part of the solution.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ibu Sufi finish the master in Flinders University.
In
Flinders,
Flinders, in
yeah.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
Now, Flinders in Adelaide.
In Adelaide, my apologies.
Adelaide, South
Adelaide.
Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. And that was an amazing experience, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Getting friends.
And I have to ask you, why? Why was it an amazing experience? Why? Can you tell me?
Oh,
In maybe 5 words.
get the friends from
Friends,
different
meeting people.
Yeah, meeting people,
Conversations.
conversation, yeah,
Yeah.
sharing knowledge and
Knowledge.
open mind to
Open,
see
yeah.
to see the differences and different understanding,
Understanding.
also. Yeah.
So this is really, really important. And it can happen here if Indonesia starts opening up to students. At Flinders University, there were students from all over Asia and around the world. Yeah?
Yep.
And you cannot put a price on that. And for me, when I travel around Indonesia, I feel very honored and respectful because I'm here and I'm learning. So in regards to information, knowledge, education, you have a greater understanding, and it's really important that you speak your mind, speak what you feel. Anyway, sorry, translate briefly if you want.
You need to translate or just understand? Yeah. Kayaknya tidak perlu lah.
Can you say why it was important for you in Bahasa? Maybe those 5 points, really briefly.
Okay.
Why? Because you met friends, you understanding was enlarged, yeah? Your information, and you felt part of outside Indonesia. You felt global. It's priceless if you say that in Bahasa.
Iya, pokoknya ke luar negeri itu sangat berharga. Jadi usahakan dapat beasiswa ya. Pokoknya belajar baik-baik, selesai. Kalau bisa master, keluar. I think they understand because.
Okay. Maybe anything else? Maybe about. Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity. So this environment, I think. So let me introduce myself. My name is Ikra Muhammad Bintang. People know me as Ikra or Bintang. Star. It's an incredible name that was invited.
It's okay. So difficult.
Student. So environment. I mean, I was environment activist also in my region at Pasangkayu. Sumba, yes. So this is about the social living system and climate change. I really interested to make understanding for this climate change for me. What is the implementation for our country, or maybe not only our country but also every entire country in the world, to make sure this environment will be reduced. And what is massive social aspects that will be impactful for our next future? Because this environment is very important. I don't say very important, but significant for all of us for next future. It's not about recent lives, but also about next future, child or grandchild. So what do you think? And my second question is, how do we resolve any kind of people like selfish for themselves? So what do you think? What you can say? How can we resolve it? Thank you.
It's a great question. And this question is
Action.
young people all over the world asking the same question. Yeah? Do I need to translate? And I'm going to answer it. You understand?
Yeah, understand.
Of course.
Because Pitang, is it Pitang?
Yeah.
P-I-T-I-N. B.
Bintang.
Bukan
So, a lot of young people around the world are angry. They're not being heard. Yeah? And so for me, what's been happening, you're privy to this in social media around the world, where students are protesting. And they're sharing knowledge, and they're sharing information, and they're sharing to universities to be voice, express, action, non-violent. Non-violent is important. But you need, as a university, and many universities around the world, the vice-chancellors often are supportive because they're understanding. So building up your knowledge and understanding and your ability to express what you feel is really, really important. Respectfully. And if you need to lift your voice up, then do it. Why? It's unacceptable. So I use this word all the time with policy and government is when I have politicians, I say, this is unacceptable. And what I mean by that is saying, sorry, you're wrong. And I find this offensive. But when I say this is unacceptable, it's a polite way of saying, I disagree with you. I'm sorry, but I disagree with you. Just going back to your question. Do you want to translate a little?
About what you said.
Yeah, it is about global information. It's about global sharing. It's really important that we talked about a website called Young Indonesian Future, whatever. And you create a website that has information globally. And it's a form of activism, but for me it's a form of education. And that in turn becomes a form of activism.
Saya bisa tambahkan sedikit nanti.
Yeah.
Kalau teman-teman departemen sosiologi ingin menulis tentang lingkungan hidup, perubahan iklim dan sebagainya, itu bisa nanti dikirim ke website SHI, Hijau Indonesia, karena kami terkoneksi dengan 65 negara di dunia. Tapi kalau mau bagus ya in English ya, jadi kalau nggak bisa nanti kami translate-kan. Jadi setiap tahun
Dia seperti blog gitu ya?
Enggak, itu website resmi. Setiap tahun kita punya pertemuan pemuda hijau. Ya, beberapa tahun lalu saya mewakili di pertemuan pemuda hijau Eropa. Nah, saat ini kita terkoneksi dengan dua sayap besar partai hijau dunia, yaitu pemuda hijau dan perempuan hijau. Jadi mungkin nanti teman-teman bisa nulis di website itu dan terkoneksi dengan 65 negara yang menjadi afiliasi dari masyarakat hijau Indonesia.
Apa tadi nama webnya?
Webnya www.shi.org.id.
Serikat Hijau Indonesia.
Oh, Serikat Hijau.
I want to go back. You have one question I haven't dealt with.
What's that?
I'm not sure. Sorry. The last question you asked.
Oh, the last question is, according to environment issues, that what is impact to our next future?
Okay. Yeah. So, around the world at the moment, if we're dealing about world health, we're talking about physical health, but what is only being recently talking about is mental health. Can you translate that? And I'll just keep going.
Jadi
Yep, she understand. Okay. So, again, researchers around the world in medical research are finding that young people are getting depressed. Yeah? Anxiety. They feel they're being abandoned. And they're angry. And they feel being alone. They feel being left out. They have no voice. And this creates mental issues. And it's understandable why. You know, I came to Indonesia knowing and having an understanding of Indonesia's history, but also Indonesia's natural resources. But it was also important for me to understand, where possible, Indonesian culture and Indonesia's politics. And it's very complicated. Huh? And we know this.
Okay.
Yeah? But the impact for Indonesia, for me, is very, very confronting in social impact on the environment, let alone physically, let alone food and land and air and water pollution. All of these issues Indonesia needs to address. And you have a complete right to be vocal, respectfully. Yeah? This is really important to challenge the political system for Indonesia's future is paramount. Yeah? Because you're acting on behalf of Indonesia.
Okay, thank you for your opportunity. So, what a wonderful.
That's too many, maybe the others. Too many from you.
One more question.
One more question. So, I also have been read any kind of books that's talk about the environment issues, such as Richard Pearson from American writers and professor from Pennsylvania University. So my question is, that's why a political system and climate change issues are opposite each other.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why? It's so our Prime Minister of Australia was in Makassar 4 days ago.
Yeah.
He was elected and succeeded because he was acknowledging that climate change is an issue.
And he's come from the Green Party.
Yeah. And the Green Party, because the majority of Australians, because of global information, global media through TV,
And number 3 now.
the Australian people said, we've had enough. Climate change is a big issue. And they voted. But over the last 30 years, there were thousands and thousands of people protesting all the time. All the time. And people were being informed and educated. And new aspiring politicians were coming up of age. One is Penny Wong, Australian Chinese, who's the Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. Very, I say this quite often, young women, we talked about this, young women today around the world are leading in activism. Young women, not young men, young women. Anyway. So you need to create change starting small. If you're going to do this in this university, then you need to connect with all the universities and say, this is what we've created here. It's like a blueprint. And you share that with other universities, the Student Guild and other universities in Indonesia. And then you create now a larger voice, and you create and suggest solutions in social media where all this information's out there. For Indonesia to survive, I believe it needs to be part of the global community. It needs to be part of global education. And there's so much information there. And the other part of this, if you're going to go down in the case of being a politician, is having knowledge, but also the ability to express it. Yeah, bold, powerfully, and have a knowledge about what you're talking about. For me, I'm probably the oldest person in here. And when I look back at my life, and I came to Indonesia in 1977 as a student, university student, and so much has changed in 40 years. Any questions? Sorry. You want to
Ayo sedikit nambahkan saja bahwa Mr. Andrew ini serius tinggal di Indonesia. Dia sudah menjual rumahnya di Aussie dan dia saat ini stay di Bali. Seperti itu. Bapaknya itu dia punya dari Indonesia, Bandung ya?
Lahir dan besar. Sampai umur 20 aja.
Ya. And then si seriously mengurus ini soal lingkungan, sangat fokus di lingkungan sendiri. Kemarin kami sempat diskusi tentang isu-isu sosial lingkungan. Ternyata ini Indonesia sangat so unique because kita punya habit atau mungkin kita behavior yang terbilang antara culture dan tentang ini isu-isu lingkungan ini sangat sensitif sekali, sangat punya keterkaitan sangat untuk erat ya. Karena kita ini orang di Sulawesi Selatan khususnya, kalau masalah makanan kita berlebih. And itu menaikkan sebuah limbah seperti itu. Jadi mungkin lebih kepada mentality kita untuk bisa barangkali untuk bisa dari diri sekarang untuk memperbaiki recovery. Karena ini satu hal isu yang cukup penting adalah bagaimana kita merecover diri kita dulu baru yang lainnya. Itu yang paling penting.
Hal kecil ya,
hal yang kecil.
Ya, dimulai dari hal yang kecil.
Yang disampaikan Ibu Uji tadi betul ya, bahwa negara orang lain itu memang sangat membuka mata kita.
Betul.
Jadi sebagai mahasiswa yang terdidik, yang terpelajar ya, memang kalau harus getting opportunity untuk scholarship atau summer course atau apa gitu, karena perubahan itu tidak ada di Indonesia. Indonesia ini baru keluar dari situasi komunal yang primitif, tapi going to negara maju sebagai komunitas maju belum. Jadi kita terjebak di tengah
transisi.
Jadi kita masih suka buang makanan. Kalau di sana kalau kita mau bertamu ke rumah orang, kita harus telepon karena dia tidak siapkan kita makanan. Dan kalau kita sudah bilang saya mau 2, itu harus 2 dan habis.
Ya. Dan
nggak boleh 3 atau 4 atau cuma dimakan 1. Dan di Australia itu tidak boleh menggunakan plastik karena plastik itu adalah ilegal. Jadi kalau kita ke kafe, kami nggak pernah menyediakan dan nggak boleh pakai tumbler juga karena tumbler itu plastik. Jadi siapa yang menggunakan dan kalau ada pertemuan nggak boleh pakai gelas cup itu ya, pakai gelas sendiri. Nah, itu bagian dari penting yang bisa dilakukan. Dan mereka percaya bahwa pendidikan itu salah satu hal yang terbaik untuk merubah perilaku agar kita lebih aware kepada lingkungan. Karena akan sangat sulit bicara, kata Andrew, dengan politisi yang nggak punya otak, nggak punya isi, dibandingkan dengan politisi yang punya isi.
Ya.
Nah, jadi kalau mau jadi politician ya jadi politician yang greens, tapi sekaligus punya otak. Jadi belajar ya memang harus belajar. Jadi kalau belajar nggak boleh nyontek, nggak boleh kalau skripsi harus bikin sendiri, nggak boleh dibikin orang.
Dengar itu.
Bisa tahu.
Yang kerja joki mungkin bisa. Okay, good. Thank you, Mas Ade. And then I'm so interested. Yesterday we have discussed about waste. Jadi dia fokus pada dia punya slogan sangat kuat menurut saya, dan sangat sangat menyentuh. On problem, on the solution.
It's really important. If we own the problem and not be in denial, that we own it. You know, in the case of waste, landfill, or ignorance, this is a problem.
Yeah.
It's not. It's actually destroying what now and the future. If we own the problem, we have a problem, and if we own it, then we start automatically creating a solution.
Yeah. Good. And then
I cannot stress this. This is so important. Yeah, sorry.
Kemarin ini teman-teman ini punya apa, Mr. Andrew ini punya agenda di TPA. And did you know
Minta 5.
how the direction
Minta 5.
sangat marah, so angry.
Yeah.
Let's feel
Yeah.
so angry, and it's the first impression. See the mountain, the west. Really? Did you know? Dia berbahasa Inggris yang begitu cepat, artinya bahwa dia sangat marah dengan penuh emosional, mengungkap bahwa ternyata kita ini orang Makassar begini sekali ya. Ini sebuah, saya mungkin sebuah celah atau sebuah refleksi buat kita. Ternyata kita ini memang sebenarnya punya mentality yang terbilang buruk sebenarnya dibandingkan dengan negara-negara lainnya seperti itu, khususnya di Indonesia ya, especially Indonesia of Makassar.
Yeah.
Of course. And then
Punya menyelenggarakan gini.
illegal dumping. Wah, ini menjadi satu hal yang cukup luar biasa sekali. Saya sempat kemarin diskusi panjang sama Mr. Andrew. Ternyata kita ini terlalu mudah untuk membuat semacam tempat sampah yang dadakan. Illegal dumping, tempat sampah yang dadakan begitu. Pernah mungkin barangkali atau jauh lah. Kita maksudnya kurang fasilitas tentang tersebut.
Pada saat lomba dipasang.
Banyak saya masuk even maybe so many illegal dumping.
Yeah.
And then what else? Maybe around sekitar kita mungkin tempat sampah juga rumah-rumah kita terlalu mudah untuk membuat semacam illegal dumping. Seperti itu. Jadi ini saya sempat kemarin ngobrol sama di talk waktu saya kemarin jalan sama di mangrove kemarin. She's so emotional something about that. Kita ini orang Indonesia, dia tidak mengatakan bahwa kita buruk ya, tapi sepertinya mungkin mengarah ke situ bahwa kita punya mentality butuh dirubah. Khususnya kita ini orang Sulawesi Selatan, khususnya kalau mempatala kita terlalu berlebih.
Yeah.
Karena lagi-lagi ini ada namanya local wisdom our city.
Tidak boleh makan berlebih.
Terlalu berlebih. And seperti disampaikan juga kemarin, kalau kami negara-negara yang berkembang dan lainnya itu kalau mau makan atau ulang tahun, orang yang mentakdir kita tidak pusing atau mau berkunjung ke rumah, itu orang tamu yang bawa makanan. Dan itu pun makanan kita sempat tanya ibu adik tadi, how many person, berapa orang kok? Dia akan memperhitungkan sesuai dengan porsi kita masing-masing. Jadi lagi-lagi the problem is our mentality. Dan maybe sempat disebut juga masalah kesadaran mental, mungkin juga barangkali mungkin maybe ini problem our kesadaran mental kita seperti itu, masalah behavior membentuk kita seperti itu. And so many, and maybe terakhir juga kemarin juga sempat Mr. Andrew say our policy, kebijakan publik kita ini terbilang tidak begitu kuat.
Pro ya.
It's not strong. Jadi saya mungkin saya juga sedikit mulai emosional yang iya saya tertampar juga, ternyata kita punya banyak masalah ya, tapi kita mengabaikan begitu saja seperti itu. Jadi ini agenda dari Mr. Andrew adalah bagaimana mau ngomong deep talk about policy, kebijakan-kebijakan terhadap pemerintah kita,